I think you lied.
Said I was sober, I was hungover from the night before, and you tried to hop in a photo, and I said, oh, Jeff's gonna get mad.
Bro.
Yeah, I did say that.
What upset me is he lied. Everything he said about me was a lie. About that interaction was a lie. He leads into it and he's like, well, I was sober. And it's like, first of all, no, the fuck you weren't.
There's two sides to every story.
Is that there is actually a lot of empathy in my heart that I know that you having him on and what you guys did that day was healing for you, and that's all that matters to me. Like in regard of,
and I had your back.
You know,
people were saying I assaulted her. Like, what the f- going on?
Tana Mongeau just called Todd Smith a bold-faced liar to his face, and what happened next will make you question everything you thought you knew about influencer loyalty. This isn't just another petty YouTube drama. This is about years of lies finally catching up to someone, and the moment when a friendship gets put to the ultimate test. Because when Tana sat across from Todd and said those 3 words, I think you lied, everything changed. But here's what makes this absolutely insane. Todd has been telling a completely different version of this story for years, and we're talking wildly different, like not even close to the same planet different.
What upset me is he lied. Everything he said about me was a lie. About that interaction was a lie. He leads into it and he's like, well, I was sober. And it's like, first of all, no, the fuck you weren't. Second of all, that almost feels backhanded and derogatory as an easy, right? To just say that I wasn't. And that's an easy in to like starting that conversation.
Oh, you were in your drinking days.
Yes, to insinuate like, well, I was sober. And it's like, you weren't, first of all. And second of all, I was sober. Okay. I had just gotten to this event. And I walked up to Todd. And like I originally said in the original episode of Jeff FM, he begins on a tangent where he is so clearly livid about the fact that there are 2 sides to every story, insinuating that there is David's side.
Yeah, I didn't say that. I said that that's what he said. You said on the pod with Trisha that Jeff said there's 3 sides to every story. No, I was like, that's what pissed me off. Like, Todd, you know there's the one fucking story.
So much miscommunication.
Yeah, Trisha said that I said it, but Todd was the one who said there's 3 sides to every story.
Coming at my neck, like, there's 2 sides to every story.
While Tana has been consistent about what happened at that Babylon movie premiere, Todd's version sounds like he's describing an entirely different night. Let's back up for a second, because the original incident is crucial to understanding why this confrontation was so explosive. A few years ago, Tana went on Jeff Wittek's podcast and told this story about running into someone from the Vlog Squad at a movie premiere. She'd already mentioned seeing Vlog Squad members who told her they missed Jeff, which she found bizarre. Why tell her instead of reaching out to Jeff directly? So at this Babylon premiere, she sees the same person again, and according to Tana, they completely lost it on her. We're talking full-blown yelling, getting in her face, screaming about how there's 2 sides to every story, basically defending David Dobrik and the Vlog Squad against Jeff. This wasn't just a casual conversation. This was someone coming for her throat in public. Eventually, it came out that this person was Todd Smith, and here's where it gets really interesting, because Todd just broke up with Natalie and got kicked out of the Vlog Squad. So now he's crawling back to Jeff, looking for friendship and validation after being completely abandoned by his former crew. But when Jeff brought up the Tana situation on his podcast, Todd told a story so drastically different that it sounds like he's living in an alternate reality.
And listen, I know how it looks, me having brought on one of the members of a squad that like it was a just unspoken thing that like don't hang out with them, they don't hang out with us, and that was made by David because he had told Jonah, and that's where I was like, all right, fine, we're at war, you know. And I was like, you're one of my best friends, you know the situation. And Todd, of course, is the one that you got into it with, who was my closest friend out of that group. You know, we would have special bonds. Like we would hike together and work out and like basically be.
And I know
therapists.
that. Yeah. And I know that.
And he's the only one who shed a tear for me out of that whole group. Like actually cried. Which it's Todd. He cries a lot, but still, that goes a long way.
No, I
with
agree
me.
with that. I will
me.
say, that's what I was going to say, is that there is actually a lot of empathy in my heart that I know that you having him on and what you guys did that day was healing for you, and that's all that matters to me. Like in regard of,
and I had your back.
You know,
in his version, all he did was cover Tana's face in a group photo. That's it. Just a playful photo moment. No yelling, no confrontation, just innocent fun. Here's the mind-blowing part. Todd seemed to think Tana had accused him of something way more serious, like assault, but she never said anything even close to that. She said she was accosted, meaning harassed or confronted aggressively. But somehow, Todd heard assault, and and built his entire defense around something that never happened. And Jeff, he got so confused during his conversation with Todd that he mixed up the details, thinking Todd said there were 3 sides to every story instead of 2. The whole thing was a complete mess of miscommunication and selective memory. When Tana heard about this episode, she was livid. Not just upset, absolutely furious. Because here's someone who has consistently told the same story for years, suddenly being called a liar by someone who's giving a completely fabricated version of events.
As someone who really cares about you, I'm wary of this because I think that there was a large period of time where he could have showed you more loyalty than he did.
This girl saved me from
100%.
unaliving myself.
And Todd, I do think you took accountability for all of that. Like, I was really excited to see you guys, you know, try to turn over a new leaf. And Jeff is so forgiving. And Jeff really, like, even just across our friendship, always discussed how much he missed you. And so it's true. So I was really happy to see that. But I can't respect that you lied. I think you're a liar.
She went on Trisha Paytas's podcast and made it crystal clear, I cannot believe that he told a completely different version of this story. He did not admit to yelling at me or anything like that. He just claimed that he didn't assault me, which wasn't even something she'd accused him of in the first place. But here's where the real drama begins. The internet started turning on Jeff, and we're talking serious backlash, because Tana has been ride or die loyal to Jeff for years. She cut off David Dobrik and his entire crew for Jeff. She's defended him through every controversy, every legal battle, every dark moment. And now, Todd gets dumped by the vlog squad, and suddenly Jeff is welcoming him back with open arms. People in the comments were boiling over with anger, saying Jeff was choosing his male friendship over the woman who'd literally saved his career and reputation.
Wait,
like, if you had your hand on the Bible in court, you were saying that's how that night happened.
100%. I've played that back so many times, and then even afterwards too.
Someone's going to hell
here. You never yelled at me. You never yelled at me in my face.
Tana, what I strictly remember is you yelling in my ear because it was so loud in there, and you were yelling in my ear. And I was trying to talk to you and explain something to you.
You opened the conversation with there being, you really, like, you can't even admit to that.
You guys are frozen, so it's kind of hard to take you seriously right now.
Okay.
It's just hard to take you seriously in general, Todd. I don't know, dude.
It's all good, Tana.
The pressure got so intense that Jeff decided to bring Tana and Todd together for a face-to-face confrontation. And what happened in that room was absolutely explosive. Tana didn't hold back. She looked Todd straight in the eye and said, I think you're a liar. Todd was standing by his version of the story, though. And Jeff goes on to say that this is from years ago and he's sure things are misconstrued. But Tana wasn't backing down. She called out every single lie. You said that I wanted a photo with you and Zayn, and that is just not what happened. You're like, I was sober, and like, first of all, no, you weren't. Second of all, I was sober. Here's the chilling part of her account. As a woman, there's that moment when a grown man starts screaming in your face, and you realize how vulnerable you are.
Yeah, because you were like, there's 3 sides to every story or something like that. But I thought you were talking about us. But I guess you're talking about just like Tana taking a picture or not, or however that interaction happened. You guys got in an argument.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be like a huge thing, you know.
Yeah, but then the internet, you know, this is what we do for a living.
For sure,
blow things out
people
of
were saying I assaulted her. Like, what the going on?
Tana described feeling that fear in her chest, the realization that she was being intimidated by someone much bigger and stronger than her. Todd's response? He doubled down. Even when directly confronted with his lies, even with Tana laying out exactly what happened, he refused to admit the truth. That's how I remember it, he kept saying. I didn't lie. But here's what made it even more infuriating. Todd had the audacity to suggest that Tana was drunk and wanted to jump into photos with him and Zayn Malik, like she was some starstruck fan. This is Tana Mongeau we're talking about, someone who's arguably more famous than Todd has ever been. The most devastating moment came when Tana asked him point blank, if you had your hand on the Bible in court, you're saying that's how that night happened? And Todd said 100%. Even under oath, he'd stick to his fabricated story.
You said that I wanted a photo with you and Zayn, and that is just not what happened.
Okay, I remember it, it's all good.
You also kind of come off, you're like, I was sober, and like,
what is Tana?
Put it behind us.
I mean,
let's.
I disagree.
That's how I remember it. It's all good. It's all good. That's just that we remember it 2 different ways.
So you don't remember screaming in my face specifically about the fact that there are 2 sides to every story in regard to David and Jeff.
Dude, I can't do this again.
I think you lied.
I didn't
lie. Fair. Let's apologize.
I know 100%. I was sober. I was hungover from the night before. and you try to hop in a photo, and I said, "Oh, Jeff's gonna get mad."
Bro,
Yeah, I did say that.
That's not what happened.
This is also years and years ago. I'm sure things are misconstrued and memories.
I mean, I guess that the conclusion here is that we are both dying on the hill of our truth and perception of that evening.
Jeff tried to play peacemaker, suggesting that memories get misconstrued over time. But Tana wasn't having it, because her story has never changed. Not once. Not a single detail has shifted in all these years. The internet's reaction was swift and brutal. Comments flooded in defending Tana. Jeff is so forgiving, but you have to protect your peace. These people are fake. Tana might exaggerate things, but her story about Todd has never changed. Jeff, don't forget Todd picked David's side willingly and was forced to leave because of the breakup. But perhaps the most cutting observation came from fans who noticed Jeff's behavior during the confrontation. He wasn't really defending Tana. He was trying to smooth things over, play both sides, keep everyone happy, and people called him out for it. Real talk, Jeff never doubt Tana's loyalty, but he will be just like any other man and will always be a boy's boy. Trisha Paytas summed it up perfectly. If you want to be his friend, fine. Leave Tana out of it. Don't make her sit through this confrontation if you're not going to have her back. Because here's what this whole situation really reveals. Todd Smith got exactly what he wanted. He's back in Jeff's good graces. He's rehabilitating his image. He's positioning himself as the victim of miscommunication rather than someone who aggressively confronted a woman at a public event.
No, it's one side. It's this hit me with a crane. It's on video.
Well, and it's funny that you say that, because when Todd then started yelling at me, that they're yelling at me, by the way,
yeah,
there are two sides to every story. I said, what, Jeff and the crane? And then he got so pissed and he starts yelling at me. And I really when I'm thinking about the exact verbiage, I don't remember, because it was one of those moments where you kind of see black and
yeah.
Also as a woman, and I don't like to hit this very often, but I'm hitting it right now. I think there is a point where you're like, oh damn, this grown man is screaming in my face and I am a girl. And that you feel that feeling in your chest and you're like,
what
oh,
was he
shit.
screaming at you?
That there's two sides to every
you,
story. I don't think he was. No, that's what you screamed at me. And then he comes on your podcast in today's day and age
and spread
and says
misinformation
that I wanted a photo with him and Zayn as though I am in a purple hat at a Justin Bieber meet and greet in 2009.
Meanwhile, Tana, the person who actually had Jeff's back when it mattered, gets dismissed as someone whose memory might be faulty. The woman who cut off an entire friend group to support Jeff gets told her trauma isn't that serious. And Jeff, he gets to play the enlightened mediator, the guy who's mature enough to forgive and forget. But at what cost? At the cost of validating someone who's been lying for years? At the cost of dismissing someone who's been unwaveringly loyal? The most chilling aspect of this entire situation is how it mirrors real-world power dynamics. A man yells at a woman, intimidates her, makes her feel unsafe, and then when confronted about it years later, he rewrites history. He makes himself the victim. He positions her as the unreliable narrator. And the worst part? People believe him. Or at least they're willing to give him the benefit of the doubt in a way they'd never extend to her. Todd Smith walked away from that confrontation with his reputation intact. He never admitted to lying. He never apologized for yelling at Tana. He never acknowledged that his behavior was inappropriate. He just stuck to his story and waited for everyone to move on. But Tana, she's been consistent from day one. Her story hasn't changed. Her details haven't shifted. Her emotional response has remained exactly the same. When someone is telling the truth, that's what it looks like, unwavering consistency.
And then Jeff was also like, well, at least I defended you when Todd was there, whatever. And I was like, no, you didn't, Jeff. Because when Todd was like, oh yeah, she was drunk and she came out to me, Jeff was like, oh, Tana. He said that. I was like, Jeffrey is rewriting.
No, he had no defense. I don't like it. It's all messy. If you want to be his friend, fine. Leave Tana out of it. You know, if you have to make it right privately and be like, okay, I'm friends with him. Don't be mad at me. Tana won't be mad. She's the last person to hold a grudge. Yeah. You know, she forgives friends all the time if they slept with her boyfriend or whatever. You know, slept with guys she likes. So I don't buy it. I think Jeff was trying to be messy. Tana's just too sweet.
The fans who are furious with Jeff aren't wrong to be upset, because loyalty should mean something. When someone has your back through every scandal, every controversy, every moment when the entire internet turns against you, that person deserves better than being told their trauma might be misremembered. This situation shows us something terrifying about influencer culture and friendship dynamics in general. When someone becomes inconvenient, when their truth makes things messy or complicated, it becomes easier to question their memory than to confront uncomfortable realities. Todd Smith lied, Tana Mongeau told the truth, and Jeff Wittek chose convenience over loyalty. The internet sees it, Tana's fans see it, and hopefully Jeff will eventually see it too, because some bridges, once burned by betrayal and gaslighting, can never be rebuilt. In the end, this isn't just about a movie premiere confrontation from years ago. It's about integrity. It's about standing up for people who stood up for you. It's about recognizing that some stories don't have two sides. Sometimes there's just one truth and a bunch of people who find it inconvenient. Tana Mongeau stood on business. Todd Smith got exposed, and Jeff Wittek learned that loyalty has a price, and he might have just paid it.